Hey folks, I'm back, and today I am making a mobile miter saw station. I bought the plans from Fix This Build That, and I've been waiting for plywood to come down in price, and I finally pulled the trigger. It was finally a low enough price where I could justify buying two sheets, and I picked two up at Lowe's, and I'm gonna get started on this build. Uh, I've had my miter saw for about a year now, and it's just taken up so much space because it's being moved from workbench to workbench between the floor and the corners of my garage. So it was finally time to get this thing built. I'm using the Craig AccuCut circular saw track to cut all these sheets of plywood down. Somebody was actually throwing this away in my neighborhood, and I went and scooped it up. It's a lifesaver, especially when breaking down these kinds of large sheet goods. They're just so much more comfortable to work with than trying to maneuver a 4x8 sheet on my table saw. So it's a real game changer for me. I don't have to worry about, making sure one edge is up against my fence at all times. Here I am cutting out the carcass and body of the miter station along with the wings, two sides, three center parts for the bottom, the top, and the shelf, and the wings that will come out to support the fences. I'm cleaning up the corners just to make it a little bit more shop friendly so I'm not banging my sides into sharp edges. And I'm using my neighbor's leaf blower to clear out some sawdust. Shout out to Eli. And here, the second sheet, you guessed it, I'm going to be using my track saw to cut everything down. I'm also making sure to measure everything twice, at least, because I am definitely guilty of cutting a quarter of an inch too short on occasion. So considering the amount of time I waited to buy these sheet goods, I definitely wanted to make sure I did not screw up. This sheet is actually all going to be the fences, so it's going to require me to rip down a bunch of sheets on my table saw, which you will see shortly. Here I go setting up the table saw, double checking all of my measurements before I do so. Just ripping everything down, checking my plans to make sure I got everything right. Definitely double check, triple check, quadruple check your plans if you have them. You'll be surprised how many repetitive cuts you think you need and you don't, and you end up making too many. Speaking of repetitive cuts, I set up my stop block here using the Micro Jig dovetail clamp system on my table sled. A couple of repeated cuts here, back to ripping down more sheets of plywood, and some more repeated cuts, and we have all of our pieces. Here is where I start putting together the carcass using the Craig pocket hole jig. Here's a better view of it. I forgot about the camera for a second. So I drill pocket holes into the sides and back of the sides to all of these sheets. So I spent a little bit of time cleaning up, and I start to lay everything out to put together. I use these Rockler right angle clamps to get everything lined up, and another clamp to hold it together. Use my mallet to kind of persuade them to get flush, and I do the same on the other side. You can't see it here, but I was measuring the height to where the first shelf needs to go. Do the same thing in there. Line everything up, get everything flush and square, and start drilling them in. I used 2 stop blocks here, 2 sheets of plywood, rather cut off from plywood to about, I think, like 6 inches, so I can make sure it's level. And here is where I drill and screw the back of the station to the body of it. I pre-drill and countersink all of the holes around and drill them in and throw my casters on. These are great casters, got them from Home Depot, 3-inch casters. They support 300 pounds, so that's more than enough support for the station. And time to flip this bad boy over, and she rolls. Here's where I begin to assemble the wings. I use these 5-inch cutoffs to drill a 5/16 hole in to insert some threaded inserts that will help me with adjusting the height of the fences. You could barely tell, but they're in there. Spend some time cleaning up, and once again, using my neighbor's leaf blower to clean up a little bit. And I start to add these onto the wings. Now, it was very important to add these on in a mirrored fashion. Otherwise, you're gonna have 2 identical wings that can only go on the left or the right side, depending on how you messed up. To attach these to the miter station, I use piano hinges. It's my first time ever working with piano hinges. Nothing really special about them, just never used them before. So I was able to cut them down in half and get these on the wings. And these wings will then be attached to the body of the miter station, which you will see right here. I set these up on the floor, I put the miter station face down, and I countersink and drill all of the holes for the piano hinge. I attach them with 5/8-inch screws, wood screws, and it was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. You just had to make sure it was measured appropriately from the top. You'll see me there with that speed square. Bring it back up, and now it's got wings, so we're getting closer. Now I am attaching the supports for the fences. The fences are going to screw directly into those supports I just added on, and they will flip up and down. Here, this is me here building the fences, which is just a frame with plywood on top. Make sure that I countersink and drill the plywood face onto the frame, and also add additional support. Here I am also attaching another piano hinge to this fence, because that's how these fences are going to be attached to the miter station. They're going to be attached with piano hinges. And that's me double checking all of my work to my plans. I'm attaching the first fence off camera, so I forgot to move the camera, so apologies. But I do move the camera for the second fence. That one I didn't forget, so you'll see that right now. I told you. So here I am under the fence trying to get everything squared away. And you didn't see me insert the bolts, but I've inserted bolts into those 5-inch blocks, and they adjust up and down so I can make sure that my fences are level with my miter station, rather my miter saw. This is me attaching these fences so I can mount these onto those wings. These are going to be fences where I pushed my stock up against when I am cutting on the miter saw. I'm off camera here, and what I decided to do, and I forgot to film, is route a micro jig dovetail groove so I can make my own stop blocks, which I will be making another video on. So keep that in mind. So you can see there's a little groove on the top of the fence there, and that's to accommodate the hardware for the micro jig dovetail clamp system. And you can see it's all coming together here. It's starting to really look like the pictures and how it's the fence is incorporated with the miter saw. So now you guys see what I'm talking about. So I am just screwing down the fence, and I'm making sure everything's level. I am making sure that the back fence is flush with the mobile miter saw station's fence. I'm also making sure that the plate is level with the fences as well. And here I am just cutting out 2 handles to make it a bit easier for me to fold up those wings for when I'm ready to use it. And here I am actually taking some red oak that I had so I can shim up my miter station so it's flush with the fences, which you see me doing off camera because I forgot to move the camera. Of course I did. Okay, next video will be better, I promise. And here it is, all assembled. You can see how the wings work to hold up the fences, and those little handles definitely come in handy. And the fact that it's mobile really works for me, since I work in a 2-car garage. I kind of like to have the space where I can move things around, so this worked out great. Here's a closer look at the miter station and the fences. I spent a lot of time trying to make sure everything was level, the fences with the plate on the miter station and the back fence as well. And from this angle you could tell it's perfect. It does the job, and I don't really need this to be super precise since I am just cutting stock down. And all the precision work is done either on my miter, on my table saw, or with any of my other tools. And here you can see piano hinges and how they're attached and how they work. I'm really happy with how this came out. I'm glad that I took the time that I did to make everything accurate. And I hope you guys enjoy these videos that I put together showing you all the things I'm building, and I hope it helps somebody out. If you guys enjoy, just stay tuned, like, subscribe, and keep an eye out for my next one. Till next time, guys. Thanks.